1. Perpetuate inequality. By restricting access to gene editing technology to only the ultra-elite and wealthy, a dictatorship could exacerbate existing inequalities in society. This could lead to the creation of a genetically privileged class with enhanced traits and capabilities, further widening the gap between the haves and have-nots. Or 2. Consolidate power. The dictatorship could use access to gene editing as a tool to consolidate power and control over the population. By enhancing the genetic traits of a select few, the regime could ensure loyalty, obedience, and superiority over the rest of the population, solidifying their grip on power. 3. Create a genetic caste system. The regime could establish a hierarchical genetic caste system, with the genetically enhanced elite at the top and the unmodified population relegated to lower social status. This could result in discrimination, disenfranchisement, and social unrest based on genetic differences. 4. Suppress opposition. Those in power could use gene editing technology to suppress dissent and opposition by genetically predisposing individuals to be more compliant, docile, or subservient. This could stifle dissenting voices and resistance to the regime, further entrenching authoritarian control. 5. Control reproduction. The dictatorship might seek to control reproduction through genetic manipulation, dictating who can procreate and under what conditions. This could lead to issues of reproductive rights, autonomy, and the commodification of human life. 6. Biological warfare. The dictatorship could weaponize gene editing technology to create genetically modified individuals or organisms for use in biological warfare. This could have devastating consequences on both domestic and international scales, posing a significant threat to global security and stability. 7. Eugenics programs. The regime could implement eugenics programs using gene editing to enforce specific genetic traits or characteristics deemed desirable by those in power. This could lead to the marginalization, discrimination, or even elimination of individuals who do not meet the regime's genetic standards. 8. Control of resources. Access to gene editing technology could be used as a tool for controlling valuable resources, such as healthcare, education, employment, and social mobility. The dictatorship could leverage genetic advantages to maintain dominance and perpetuate the subjugation of the general population. 9. Manipulation of public perception. The regime might use propaganda and misinformation to portray gene editing as a privilege reserved for the elite, reinforcing social hierarchies and justifying their exclusive access to the technology. This could further entrench divisions within society and undermine efforts for equality and justice. 10. International relations. The emergence of a genetic elite class within a dictatorship could have implications for international relations and diplomacy. Other nations may view such practices with suspicion, leading to tensions, sanctions, or conflicts over ethical concerns related to genetic manipulation and human rights abuses. 11. Creation of genetic hierarchy. The dictatorship could establish a rigid genetic hierarchy based on enhanced traits, abilities, or characteristics, leading to a stratified society where social status is determined by one's genetic makeup. This could result in discrimination, prejudice, and social divisions based on genetic differences. 12. Genetic surveillance. The regime could implement widespread genetic surveillance to monitor and control the population, using gene editing technology to track individuals, enforce compliance, and suppress dissent. This could infringe on privacy rights, autonomy, and individual freedoms, creating a dystopian surveillance state. 13. Selective breeding programs. The dictatorship might institute selective breeding programs using gene editing to perpetuate specific genetic traits deemed advantageous by those in power. This could lead to the commodification of human life, coercion in reproductive choices, and the erosion of individual autonomy in matters of reproduction. 14. Bioethical dilemmas. The concentration of gene editing technology in the hands of a dictatorship could give rise to profound bioethical dilemmas, such as questions of consent, genetic manipulation, and the definition of what it means to be human. These dilemmas could challenge existing ethical frameworks and require new approaches to address the complex moral issues at stake. 15. Resistance and rebellion. The unequal distribution of gene editing technology could spark resistance and rebellion among those excluded from access, leading to social upheaval, civil unrest, and challenges to the regime's authority. This could result in conflicts, uprisings, and efforts to overturn the genetic hierarchy. 16. Repression of genetic diversity. The dictatorship could use gene editing technology to suppress genetic diversity within the population, homogenizing traits and characteristics to conform to a narrow standard defined by those in power. This could lead to the erasure of unique genetic identities and cultural heritage, undermining the richness and diversity of human life. 17. Health disparities. By restricting access to gene editing technology to the ultra-elite and wealthy, the dictatorship could exacerbate health disparities between different segments of society. The genetically enhanced elite may have access to superior health care, longevity, and quality of life, while the rest of the population is left behind, facing increased health risks and reduced life expectancy. 18. Environmental impact. The concentration of gene editing technology in the hands of a privileged few could have environmental consequences, such as altering ecosystems, biodiversity, and ecological balance. The genetic modifications made by the elite could have unintended effects on the environment, leading to ecological disruptions and long-term consequences for the planet. 19. Ethical challenges. The use of gene editing technology by a dictatorship to create a genetically privileged class raises profound ethical challenges related to fairness, justice, and human dignity. Questions of equity, access, and the right to genetic self-determination come to the forefront, requiring careful consideration and ethical reflection on the implications of such practices. 20. Global implications. The emergence of a genetic elite class within a dictatorship could have global implications, affecting international norms, human rights standards, and ethical frameworks. Other nations and international organizations may respond to these developments with condemnation, sanctions, or interventions to address the ethical concerns raised by the unequal laws and regulations. In this era of unprecedented technological advancement, our actions today will shape the ethical contours of tomorrow's world. We must take action in the present to save the human rights of the people of the future. We are responsible for the genetic legacy we pass on to future generations. Transparency, accountability, and ongoing dialogue are essential components of a regulatory framework that upholds ethical standards, promotes safety, and ensures that the benefits of gene editing are realized in a manner that is consistent with our shared values and aspirations for a better future. The future is in our hands.